At the start of the pandemic, Indigenous communities across the country had few cases of COVID-19. That has changed. Indigenous Services Canada says it's aware of more than 2,000 infections among First Nations people on reserves since the start of the pandemic. As of Monday, 771 cases were still active. The prairies have been hardest hit. Alberta has recorded at least 620 infections in Indigenous people. There are more than 450 cases in Saskatchewan and over 500 in Manitoba. The Manitoba First Nations COVID-19 Pandemic Response Coordination Team says active cases in the Indigenous population there is far higher when you include both on and off reserve cases. Together, they account for about 20% of all active cases in Manitoba. Today, Prime Minister Trudeau committed more than $61 million in funding to help Manitoba First Nations battle COVID-19. The money is intended to support the implementation of public health measures, to build up capacity for surges in cases, and to ensure food security. There has been an unexpected and historic turn of events in the dispute over Indigenous fishing rights in Nova Scotia. A coalition of mik'waq groups has entered a $1 billion partnership to buy one of the country's largest seafood operations, Clearwater Seafoods. They will own a 50% stake in the company and gain control of all of Clearwater's fishing licenses in Canada. It is a big move, though as Ross Lord reports, it doesn't resolve some long-standing issues that have led to anger and violence.
The deal is touted as the single largest investment in the seafood industry by any Indigenous group in Canada.
This is strictly a commercial transaction with a major North American company, Canadian company. And we just feel so proud in being able to be an owner, 50% owner.
Clearwater is Canada's largest holder of shellfish licenses and quotas, specializing in lobster, scallops, crab, and shrimp. In a statement, Clearwater Chairman Colin MacDonald says the deal represents great value for shareholders and leverages the expertise within the company while advancing reconciliation in Canada. The deal is worth $1 billion. Indigenous leaders say it will not solve disputes over their so-called moderate livelihood fisheries, but analysts say it's a significant development, a pure business deal.
We're seeing a growing number of these. There's a community in northern Yukon that actually owns 49% of a regularly scheduled airline. There's communities around Fort McMurray who spend $850 million buying storage capacity for the oil sands.
In a review about Clearwater, a financial advice website notes earnings are forecast to grow by 109% per year, but it cautions interest payments are not well covered by earnings and that profit margins are lower than last year. Not everyone is convinced the deal is a slam dunk. The chief of the Sipekne'katik First Nation, who's been forced to literally fight for Indigenous fishing rights, says he needs more information before supporting it.
There's always a risk, I guess, so we need to iron out that and see if it's a good risk versus return. So we'll see very shortly, and we'll go from there.
If the sale goes through, leaders hope it creates more jobs for Indigenous harvesters and their communities in a company that currently employs thousands of people.
We also certainly have every intention of integrating the mik'waq into the company.
Clearwater says its shareholders will make a final decision on the deal in January. Ross Lord, Global News, Windsor, Nova Scotia.